Hey.
Greetings, you pop culture junkies, and welcome to Raw Rant, where honesty is the game and truth is the destination. We're here hanging out with some of your favorite sweaty nerds to hopefully stimulate your brains and recharge your geeky souls. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Shane, and with me, as always, rocking the boards is my brother, Brian. And joining us tonight on Raw Rant is a man who has been in show business for more than 30 years. He's an incredible actor who just gave us a look at a Vulcan I think we can all agree none of us realized was out there. His daily workouts make me tired just watching them. The amazing Kirk Acevedo.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
We're so glad to have you, Kirk. Also joining us directly from the Burnett work, which offers only the highest IQ pop culture mental libations, the one and only Robert Meyer Burnett.
Greetings. Thank you for having me. This is an honor.
And last but not least, if your diet is low in sodium and you need someone as your wingman at a Las Vegas convention, Matt from the Salty Nerd Podcast.
I'm very honored to be here with a man who was a big part of one of my all-time favorite TV shows, 12 Monkeys. Kurt, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I think we're going to hear a bunch of that. And Dave Cullen may drop in if he's not asleep.
And there he is
right now. Oh, there he is. Every time I say somebody's not going to show up, you like pop him in. It's like you're doing it on purpose.
Yes, I was actually waiting for you to say that.
Great. And so we have the Dave Cullen, who has inspired us all every day with his Star Trek information. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now quickly before we jump into the panel with our amazing guests, I want to thank EKSTER Wallets for sponsoring today's show. There may not be any need for a wallet in the future of Star Trek, but it's a necessity for us in our daily lives. And oh boy, did we find the last wallet you'll ever need to own. We've discovered the most efficient smart wallet in the world, and it's made by EKSTER. They have revolutionized the wallet. We're never going to go back to bifold, guys. Super slim, sleek, and futuristic. EKSTER wallets can fit in your front pocket and still hold up to 12 cards. This high-quality wallet combines Italian leather, space-grade aluminum, and carbon fiber with built-in RFID blocking to protect you from wireless theft. And if you're like Brian and you lose your wallet all the time, it actually comes with a tracker, so you can never lose your wallet again. Check out EKSTER
right in there.
right now after this video. The link is in the description below. Go to ekster.com/thepopcast. Get 25% off your order when you use code ThePopcast. All right. Now that business is taken care of. Kirk, thank you so much for being on the show today. I think I can speak for all of us here on the panel when I say we're huge fans of your work. You got your start in Hollywood in the mid-90s, landed the role of Private Tella in The Thin Red Line in 1998. At this time, Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Voyager were on the air. Then in 2001, Joe Toy and the Band of Brothers takes the world by storm. Alvarez, you played Miguel Alvarez in Oz, Charlie Francis in Fringe, Jose Ramsey in 12 Monkeys, Ricardo Diaz in Arrow, and now here in 2023, you find yourself playing the first Vulcan crime boss in the history of Star Trek for Picard Season 3. The question I have for you, Kirk, is did you ever think you'd find yourself in Star Trek?
No, to be honest with you. I knew Terry was show running a different show. I think I want to say MacGyver after 12 Monkeys. And then he did Picard. And I got a call from Terry or a text. And he's like, hey, would you ever be interested in doing a Star Trek? And I was like, yeah, of course. And I was like, what would I play? Because I have a thing about prosthetics on my face. It's just claustrophobic. And he's like, I'm thinking a Vulcan. I'm thinking, oh, just ears. Perfect.
Yeah.
Ears and eyebrows. Easy. I was like, yes. He's like, what about a Ferengi? I was like, no. So then he said, he's like, well, listen, it's not like your typical Vulcan. Think like special forces, like assassin Vulcan, like just as edgy as you want to go. And it was great. And that's how it came about. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
KRINN
is our Vulcan.
And so the funny thing is, so we had to go through hair and makeup and all that stuff. And you're going through the process. So I knew I was getting a scar. He's like, what about a scar? I was like, love it. Tattoos. Like, we're on the same page, me and Terry. Like, so he's like, I go to hair and makeup and they're showing me these wigs, and I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, I gotta talk to Terry because I'm not wearing these wigs because it looks. Could you curse on here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, go ahead.
It was silly as fuck wearing that wig, man. It's like from 1970. I can't wear this wig. It's like, counterintuitive to like everything we talked about. And so he's like, they were like, you want to try it on? I'm like, no. I don't think I'm wearing a wig. I'm going to talk to Terry. But the problem is, Terry's like, you told him no to the wigs. I'm like, Terry, like I'm the new guy on the show. And I'm like, not even like a regular. I can't be like, no. Because I'll look like an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, this fucking actor came on saying no to everything. He's like, you're not wearing those wigs. I was like, yes, but you should have told him. He's like, just don't worry. Just tell him. So thank God he squared it away and got rid of the wigs.
Was it like the wig with the?
Yes. It was like literally was like the Beatles hairdo. Like that's what it was
my
like.
God.
Jet black. Like the voluminous hair. I was like, I can't wear this, man. Like,
I'm glad that didn't happen because that would have looked weird.
He's like, what do you want your hair to be? I was like, let's do it like those high and tight. Let's do it high and tight.
Yeah.
Like, let's make it like, because that's something you don't normally see. They usually have hair and they have like sideburns and stuff like that. Let's make them completely different. And so the only thing I wish I could have done a little bit better was the accent. It was so cold outside. So I couldn't move my lips as well. So the problem is I couldn't enunciate as well. So I would have
Was it actually snowing?
It was just freezing in LA. It was a night shoot. So it was like 35. It was like 40 degrees out.
I got to say, though, the voice that you went with, I think Vulcans are a lot harder to play than most people realize. And I think throughout Star Trek history, not a lot of actors have been able, especially actors that come on for an episode or two, have been able to nail it. Your performance was one of my favorite Vulcan performances in all of Star Trek. The way you moved, the way you spoke. And I mean, you exuded danger, and your speech, you said, what did you say? Ergo, the line. It was so because you're thinking to yourself, why would there be a Vulcan crime boss? And then you I mean, I know it's the dialogue you were given to say, but you know, you said that you're bringing logic. Utopia needs crime or whatever.
Yeah.
It was
it's got a balance, right?
It was so. I want a KRINN action figure presiding over this place
Rob,
as a reminder.
The line was, there can be no utopia without crime. Ergo, an organized criminal enterprise is logical.
It's logical.
Okay, that I haven't yet to memorize that, but that's one of my favorite lines in all of Star Trek history. And
that was the hardest thing to fucking say.
Wow, did you fucking nail that shit?
Was KRINN was KRINN kind of already fleshed out for you? I know you got to bring some of the style to it. Did you get to, I mean, the crime boss thing, was that Terry? Was that you? Was it a combination?
No. So before, I'm assuming before he even wrote it, like he had the idea of what KRINN wanted to be, but then I forgot we even had the conversation. And then 2 months later, he's like, okay, so you're ready. You're going to get the script. So it wasn't even on paper, I assume, yet. You know what I mean? It probably was storyboarded, but it wasn't on paper or fleshed out. And, I'm sure this was Terry's idea from the get-go. So absolutely, it was, but he knows what I like also. So,
you have the ability, you riff a lot when you're doing your stuff. So
was there any riffing here? Yeah. I added the families. There was, I think, one or two, and I kept on adding family, all this stuff. But there wasn't that much, to be honest with you. And I love ad-libbing, and Terry could say, yes, he does. But I didn't need to. It was actually very well written. So that's really the key, though. If it's written perfectly, I don't need to riff, really.
Right.
So that's, unfortunately, a lot of writers in television, they don't want you to riff because they hold their words like pearls, right? So, but the more confident the writer is, they let you play. That's a fact. So
you must have been confident. That's good.
no, it just was well written. It just was finding the right tone and rhythm to say the speech. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to do something completely different that then, people assume that I would do, and so I wanted to change my voice up a little bit as opposed to make it a little bit softer, just maybe a little accent and stuff like that. But the hardest part was, I kept on saying, Terry, I was like, do Vulcans, they have no emotion? He's like, no, they do. He's like, but it's held, but you could let it out. I was like, okay, perfect. Because that was the hardest thing, because for like the first week, I'm like, oh my God, this sounds terrible because I can't,
emote.
I can't emote. I can't have subtext, right? Like, and I need subtext, and you have to let it out here and there. And so the minute he said, oh, absolutely, you could let it out. And so, yeah, it was fun. They let me play, man. And that's really the key. Some actors, they need validation, right? And that's understandable. Like, you're insecure in a part or something, and they need to be saying, that's it. You're in the right place.
Right.
I know if I'm going in the right place just by tone. It's a different thing. I know if I'm hitting it, and I know when I'm not. So to me is like, give me a long leash. Don't give me a short leash. Every actor is different, though, right? Like, some need to be guided, some don't. And depending on the part, too. Sometimes in a part, I need to know, is this the right direction? So, yeah.
Well, we got a super chat from Whiskey Jack saying he was the Vulcan we needed. Thank you, Whiskey Jack.
So did you have to do any research, ask any other people who played Vulcans, watch any episodes of Star Trek? Todd Stashwick played a Vulcan on Enterprise like 20-some years ago. Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow. No, I watched Leonard Nimoy's, I think I watched the first two films that he did, Star Trek, the first one, and the Wrath of Khan. I just watched it, and it just didn't help because I just thought it was, no offense, but it's a little dated. So
what?
It's a little dated. It's a little dated. You know what I mean?
How dare you?
A blood vessel on Robert's head just popped.
No. Listen, I'm
Red
just
alert.
watching for the last 3 days. I'm watching all the Twilight Zones.
Oh yeah,
and they're dated.
yeah,
but they're still brilliant.
Yes.
It's not taking away the brilliance.
Do you have a favorite episode of what you've watched of the Twilight Zone?
There's so many, man.
Oh yeah,
there's
so
just
many.
so
There's
many.
hundreds.
I just watched the William Shatner. I think that was in season 4 or 5.
Yeah, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And
Richard Donner directed
that. Yeah.
Freaking back when you could have guns on planes and stuff.
What's really interesting about
smoke too, right?
the Twilight Zone, I think, is a masterclass in writing. I think anybody who's interested in because in 25 minutes you have to establish a premise, establish a character, and then take that character through basically a 3-act structure.
Right.
Very difficult to do.
Very hard to do. And I don't think anyone, there's been, I like the 85 iteration of Twilight Zone, some of it, but it was different. But they keep bringing it back. There was the movie in 83 and then the 85 series that ran 3 seasons. But I think anybody that wants to become a writer should watch, don't go on Chat GPT. Watch the Twilight Zone.
And season 4 is actually all 1 hour.
Yes.
That's the only, which you have a lot more to play with.
I mean, if we didn't have Chat GTP, we'd have no Mandalorian season 3. So
That's harsh. My introduction to Twilight Zone was the book episode, Time Enough
at Last.
Yeah, at last. That, and I watched that when I was really young, and I was like, and I was a big reader because I wasn't allowed to watch TV at my house. So I was watching.
Can I make a recommendation along similar lines to Hitchcock, Twilight Zone, that kind of thing, which would be a fantastic series from 1960. There was a British version and in particular the American version, which is called Thriller.
Oh, it's great.
Karloff. It's a fantastic show. And actually, William Shatner is in 2 of those episodes.
Yeah. Really good.
Well, you also have the Outer Limits too, which plays on the
Outer
same
Limits. Yeah. Some good episodes there. Some.
Yeah.
The new
it's hit and
iteration, the most recent iteration, was terrible.
Wasn't great. Although Amanda Plummer was in an episode of the new Outer Limits.
Oh, was she?
No, I'm
Really?
talking about
Twilight
Twilight Zone.
It was the Jordan Peele version.
Oh,
really
terrible.
It was really bad.
And he's pretty brilliant. I mean, his horror stuff is great and
I think he needs longer. He needs longer to make things. Yeah.
And I don't think he wrote all these episodes. That's another issue too. He's writing his films.
So, Kirk, you worked with showrunner Terry Matalas on 12 Monkeys, of course, for 4 years. And Picard season 3 is not lost on some wonderful monkey Easter eggs, including yourself. Were you aware that they were going to have so much monkeys, teasers in Picard?
I had no idea. Had no idea until I read the script, and then Terry was keeping me updated about what's going on, and he's like, "Aaron is your brother who dies." I was like, "Oh, that's Aaron." He goes, "Yes, he was in the previous episode." So Terry filled me in on all the Easter eggs. So awesome. I love it. It's great. I love it.
Super chat. Cool. No, super chat from Foxhound. The one and only Joy Toya. Ergo, it is logical.
Joe Toy. Yeah, that's right.
Joy Toy. Sorry.
Yeah, Band of Brothers is one of my personal favorite. But I got to tell you, so you and Aaron Stanford, you were just talking about. Aaron, of course, was in 12 Monkeys. He played James Cole, and then he was Sneed here in Picard season 3. But you guys are crime brothers on Matalas 4. So your nod to family when you kept saying family over and over again.
Right.
So did you talk to Aaron at all before the role, or did you guys get to shoot together?
No, we didn't shoot it all together. I think he was in an entirely different episode than I was. So no, we didn't chat about it, and I actually didn't know it was Aaron until we were shooting. I didn't know. I didn't know who the Ferengi was. So.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It could have been you if you weren't claustrophobic.
No, I couldn't. I knew ahead of time I couldn't do it. There's been other films in the past that I couldn't do. One had to be like all burned up from head to toe, and I was like, I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it.
Because when they have to make the mold for prosthetics, I've seen it done, and basically they have to put like a tube up your nose so you can breathe. The thing goes over your whole face. Yeah, that would be extremely uncomfortable, claustrophobic.
I did that for Fringe when they had to make a prosthetic head for me.
All right,
and that wasn't that. It just was 30 minutes. The issue is sitting in a chair with people around you, and for 4 hours, and then another hour taking it off, and then having it on your face for a day or 2 or 3. That's what I couldn't do.
Right.
I just couldn't. I couldn't do that.
You were fantastic in Fringe, Kirk.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Like when I first started watching that show, it was recommended to me, and I was like, I was having a hard time with some of the other characters, and then I saw Kirk stroll in, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
What was the hard time with the other characters?
The lead, I didn't like the way she emoted everything. She seemed very, and I'm no offense to this person, I'm sure she's great, but it seemed very whiny to me. It was very hard to get behind. I couldn't see her as like as the hero or whatever. And she always seemed like she didn't. Wow. It always felt like she didn't know what was going on, which she didn't. But she didn't seem like she knew what was going on in the FBI. You know.
Well, I mean, listen, I didn't know what was going on in the FBI, and I was second in command. So, but
that's true.
You know, a lot of the issues is, you know, sometimes they write you in a corner, right? And I think that's the issue there with Fringe. We were shooting some episodes and we didn't even have a script. We'd have like 17 pages. So, in her defense, we were filming blind a lot of the times. I'll even tell you something else. Working with Lance Reddick, God bless Lance Reddick.
Oh God, I love that guy.
He was shooting a couple of episodes of Lost, so they gave his lines to me to say. So you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah,
how
that's
specific,
fair.
it's interchangeable. Like, so, and that was frustrating. So in her defense, and also we were 16-hour days, man.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
freaking
I'm
day
sure she's great.
for 9 months. Like it was insane. Like it
Right.
was
Well,
a lot more to that show.
But you and John Noble, for me, was like why I
Yeah.
stuck it out and got to season 2 in the first place.
He was great in that show.
Well, I have to
John was-
ask you, genre television lives and dies by the scripts. And, when you watch a show like Lost was a good show, but clearly they had no idea where they were going. You could tell they were making that show up. Whereas a show like 12 Monkeys, if you watch 12 Monkeys, it's so, as it unfolds all the way to the end, it's so tightly scripted. And for you working on that, I mean, Terry and team, Christopher Monfett, and they just crushed those scripts. And you really feel when you get to the end of that show that you were, as a viewer, completely fulfilled. It was a very fulfilling meal. Is that the same? Is that true for you as an actor as well when you work on a show like 12 Monkeys? And do you guys as an ensemble and all the actors, can you feel how tightly scripted it is? And is it better for you as an actor knowing that the people upstairs, they're driving the truck, that it's going in the right direction?
Yeah, you know, from the inception, when I originally auditioned for Cole for Aaron's part, and then they came back like a month later or something like that. Hey, would you want to audition for Ramsey? And I said no. And the reason why I said no, because on Fringe, I auditioned for Josh's part on Fringe. So it's a terrible situation to be in when, like, you're for Fringe, like, I'm relegated to a desk. And it's like what my wife said. It's like you're a shark on a tricycle. That's what they have you on. You're on a tricycle. And they go, like, if we were to go to war right now, you wouldn't have me behind a desk answering phones. So you're not using my best assets. So Fringe was very bittersweet for me because they didn't use what I could do, right? So with Terry, so with the Terry thing, I said no, and then they kept coming back. And finally, like, just talk to Terry. And Terry said it's a story about brothers in the future, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, because that's not, I didn't want to be the best friend. Like, and just like, you know, the hero goes to save the day, and as he's walking out the door, his best friend throws his keys. He goes, okay, go save the world. You know what I mean? But that's typically what happens, right? And I didn't want to play that because, once again, I'd be a shark on a tricycle. And Terry, for his word, like, he let me, like, he gave me full playing all over across the board.
Well, it made the show so much better because, I mean, honestly, it could have gone down that way. Like, it was almost initially set up that you can see Ramsey as kind of like that support to Cole's character, but then it starts flowering. The character starts building, and it's through the work that you did. And now you've got Ramsey time traveling, and I'm like, oh my God, please give me more of this. So yeah, you guys absolutely killed it.
And it's character driven. See, that's the best part, is because it's not a procedural. It's a character-driven show, which is even better because you get to show your chops, right? And I think everybody, I mean, everyone on down just was great, you know. And oh my God, I can't believe I forgot her name. She played Dr. Oh my God, it's been so long. She created a time travel machine. Come on.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was Dr. Rayleigh.
Yeah.
I can't think of her real name though. Anyway, early. She was brilliant. Like, everybody was brilliant. Everyone did great work. I mean, the guest stars are great, and
Madeline Stowe.
You know,
that's it.
No. Our doctor, our scientist.
Oh, in the future.
Yes.
Look it up.
Madeline Stowe's in the movie.
Yeah.
She's
I
also
did
in
the wrong
ours.
one. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, same
She's
character.
also in ours as a guest star, like 2 or 3 episodes. But I can't think of her name.
I got it for you.
She's from Germany.
Amanda Scholl?
No. It's
Barbara Barbara Sakawa. Yes, that's it. Yes.
Yeah, she was great.
It's funny. I just
like
watched the entire finished, and I couldn't think of her name.
I'm so bad with names.
Yeah. She's great. I mean, the cool thing
is
that
guy that played Deacon in that show. I don't even remember.
He's great. He's great too. Yeah,
that dude.
Todd something.
Yeah, can't pronounce his last name. Yeah.
I mean, everybody. They just, they own their parts. And it's a completely different show than the film. So and I think they did very well.
Yeah.
So, what was it like being on set with Michael Dorne? So you get to be on set with Worf. Worf actually, I guess, almost kills you. And so, what was it? Are you a fan of TNG? Did it mean anything for you to be on set with Worf? What do you think?
So I've watched all the old Star Treks and the old films and stuff like that, and I've seen a few of like the Picards and stuff like that. So yes, I knew exactly who he was. He's the sweetest man. He's so sweet. I mean, so kind, endearing, and so was his partner, Michelle. Yeah, she's great. They welcome me with open arms. I mean, that's how when you go to a new show, that's how you want to be welcomed, where your regulars ingratiate themselves to you, because that makes you comfortable and it makes you want to perform. There's nothing worse going on a show and the leads are assholes, because you're like, I'm here to do good work for you, for your show. You know what I mean? But they're the sweetest people.
Did you know the drug that you guys were peddling was called Splinter?
Was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's so great.
Wow, Terry has 12 monkeys all over this.
He's a wild man. Even some of the characters, like the aliases that Jack was going through, it's Picard's son in the show.
Oh yeah,
one of them was Cole, was one of the aliases. So he's all over it.
Listen, instead of doing like the Punisher, I want them to do KRINN, and just as an anti-hero. Just a standalone TV. I'm sorry. Like, let's go there. Like, Star Trek is ready to go. Okay,
I'll take it.
Full edgy. Make it at 10 p.m. at night.
Yes.
And let me just go buck wild on motherfuckers. Like, I will go buck wild. I don't know if it's up to Terry. It's probably up to the Star Trek people, but I'm sorry. There's a place for it, and there's eyeballs that would love to see that type of Star Trek.
They've never done a Star Trek underworld type of a show, and it would be really interesting. I mean, you could do a Godfather 2 kind of story about the rise of KRINN and Sneed, as young kids on Metalis, and how you guys and do a whole legacy thing and add. I mean, I think that would be, if nothing else, it would be a really interesting movie. Where you see you guys, and it's all about, and you could do it, have a flashback structure where the two of you are building this criminal empire, and we flash back on how you got there. I have to ask you though, and I've been holding, you were in the Thin Red Line, and you worked for director Terrence Malick, and I mean, I've got to ask, I'd be remiss. I mean, Terrence Malick, for those of you who don't know, in the 70s, he directed Days of Heaven and Badlands, and he was revered, and then he basically disappeared for decades, and then the Thin Red Line was his big comeback movie, and people have talked about how he changed it completely in editing, and people's characters were, but regardless,
I know that story. Yeah,
what was it like to work for Terrence Malick?
Man, that was a bucket list, to be honest with you, because I would probably put in my personal top 100 films, I would probably put Days of Heaven and Badlands in there.
Yeah, for sure.
In the top 100. I mean, just the things he did with the camera, with the crickets, and reversed it. And it just great stuff, and the performances in both films, and then for me, I'll tell you how I got that job on Thin Red Line. I was doing a play with Sam Shepard, who was basically my mentor, my idol. God bless him. I wouldn't have a career without that man. I was doing a play, Tooth of Crime, with Vincent D'Onofrio. And Sam had video of the play, and without my knowledge, without telling me, he sent it to Terrence Malick, and he's like, "You got to hire this kid, man."
Yeah, and you worked with him twice.
Who?
Terrence Malick, because you were
I
in
worked there twice. Yes, I did.
And I mean, I love both of those movies. I mean, that, and you worked on the New World as well, and I
New World.
love
New World. They cut out what I did, which was cool shit. If they, I don't know, maybe it's a director's cut somewhere. But with the Terrence Malick thing, he it's a great opportunity. I mean, he sounds, and it is not a derogatory thing, he sounds like Kermit the Frog. Like when he's talking to you and he's like this, Kirk, you're going into the abyss, and Sean is reaching out to you, and the darkness is foreboding, and it's overwhelming you, and you're riding out on this little... That's his notes before a fucking scene. But I got it. Like, I'm like, yes, I love this shit. I'm an artist. I love this shit. And he's brilliant, and some crazy stuff. I mean, John Tall, DP. I mean, just...
I mean, one of the great directors of photography of all time.
There's a shot, my first shot of I'm just there. No one knows who I am. I'm just there. First shot, first day. There's 2,000 fucking extras. There's Sean Penn, Nick Nolte, like the who's who. They're you guys.
Right.
This little figure, the camera's facing this way, and they're all behind the camera. And there's this little figure, and I'm running maybe 2 football fields to them. And you hear like this thing, where the fuck you guys been? You're supposed to be on the other side of the fucking river, you motherfuckers. And I'm like the whole way, a oneer, the whole way, the mountains, this little figure sweating, coming up, and the words get louder and louder and louder. And then I realize it's a captain I'm talking to, and I'm just a little private, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. And Sean Tall goes, fucking Warner. And it was never in the film. The first cut was over 4 hours long.
Yeah, that was one hell of a movie.
Yeah.
I heard to get the money to do that film, I heard that the script that was shown to the studio was not the script that he shot. Shot a different script, meaning it was in there. He just cut this out. It was always about Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel was always the lead. He's Jesus Christ.
Right.
He's the Messiah.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, Terrence Malick is a devout Baptist, and which is crazy, the juxtaposition of him being, taught philosophy at MIT. I mean, he's Mensa and won the Mensa Award for but he's a devout, philosophy and religion, they come at odds at times, right? So
true.
We got a super chat from Ian Carrolls. I'm sorry, wrong one. Let me go with the grid first. Picard season 3 has 43 times the demand of the average TV show. Well done, Kirk and company.
Yeah. It's seeing some huge success right now. There's a lot of movement and push. Picard season 3 is super popular, partly because of things like adding KRINN, and having these wonderful characters.
Right.
Matt, I know you had some questions too you wanted to ask. Go ahead and jump in.
Yeah. Before my question, though, I just want to say that I am shocked to hear that Fringe, produced by Alex Kurtzman and Akiva Goldsman, didn't have completed scripts and was making it up. It just blows my mind.
Akiva didn't come on until the second season, so Akiva wasn't in the first season. So
that was J.J. Abrams' thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a mystery box, but they just don't know where the box is.
Right.
I wanted to ask you. So KRINN is missing part of his ear. So I was wondering if you could tell us how he lost it.
What's your hand
shot
cannon?
off he got shot off somewhere, or he got cut off in a fight. But listen. Let's bring him back in a heavier role, and we could explain all of those things.
So my headcanon
Paramount
was
people watching. So this is good. Paramount folks, listen, you heard it from the man himself. He wants to come back. Let's make it happen.
my headcanon, Kirk, is that you got in a fight with a Klingon crime lord and his Targ attacked you and ripped off your ear.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
or you know, maybe I had a half Vulcan brother too, and I killed him. I mean, let's just go edgy. Just go as edgy as you can.
So Kirk, I don't know how familiar you are with like Deep Space Nine or whatever, but I know, and maybe Robert can chime in on this. Nana Visitor hated makeup as well. She felt like it was very claustrophobic, and there was an episode where she had to play a Cardassian, which had like just a ton of makeup, and they were doing like a super.
Did you say a Kardashian?
No, Kardashian.
That requires a lot of makeup, Kirk.
But that was she was doing
a lot more than just makeup. Yeah.
She was doing like a 16-hour shoot day, and by the end of it, she was literally just ripping the prosthetics off because she was like, "I can't be in this anymore." Robert, do you remember that story?
Yeah, no, I mean that's the true story, and there's a lot of people that have not dug. I used to work in makeup effects. I worked for Tony Gardner. Yeah, I worked at a company called Altarian Studios early in my career, and there were people that, especially when you talked about full doing the head sculpts or getting your whole face encased, there were people that just couldn't do that, and it is, especially because it gets hot on your skin and it is moving around. It becomes very constrictive, and I totally understand that. And Nana Visitor, yeah, that story, from what I understand, that's absolutely a true story, and that makeup is unforgiving too. So,
what's the Robin Williams the robot film? What was that?
Bicentennial called? Man.
So my wife was the female robot in that.
Oh, that's rad.
And so she tells a story that they usually do it in parts when they, this makeup or special effects team did it all in one, and she passed out.
Oh my God.
And like literally like it was compressing on her chest and everything. And so, yeah, man, it's extremely claustrophobic.
And you have to be careful because your skin, people don't really realize, but your skin needs to be able to breathe as well. And if you're constricted that way, like, in Goldfinger, the reason that the girl painted gold dies is because she's completely covered in gold, and there's, your skin can't sweat, and it's not good. So you have to be very careful.
That happened in a marathon, in New York City Marathon. Somebody put Icy Hot. They put Icy Hot all over their body, and what happens is the heat is she just a cardiac arrest because it just covered all her pores.
Yeah.
It clogged, so she couldn't perspire. So she died. It's crazy.
Oh,
so it's kind of like the same thing you're talking about.
Speaking of dying, since I have you here, Kirk, I wanted to ask you. I was a big fan of this very short-lived TV show called The Black Donnellys, which was produced by Paul Haggis, and I know that you were involved in that. Can you tell me, what was it like working on that series? Because it was a diamond in the rough. I don't think it got enough time to actually kind of spread its wings.
It should have been a cable show. It's a cable show. It's cable tone. It should have been like something on Oz HBO. It's that sort of tone. And I just think NBC just wasn't doing that type of show in 2005, 2006, or whatever it was. It should have been edgier. It should have been, but it's not that it wasn't written edgy. It was. Bobby Moresco and Paul Haggis, amazing pilot. It just was the wrong network. It needed to be on cable. But I love all the guys. Jonathan was great. Worked with him again on Kingdom, and so he actually got me that part on Kingdom. He knew I was a big boxing fan. So Jonathan Tucker. So. Yeah, I have fond memories of that gig. So, yeah, good people, all the guys.
So, Kirk, Band of Brothers. So, was Thin Red Line Did that help you get to Band of Brothers? How did that story happen? Because that's my favorite series you've been in.
So I was doing Oz at the time. I think we're in the fourth season, and so I'm filming something in Toronto, and I get a call, and he's like, "You have to fly out to LA right now." I was like, "I'm not flying out anywhere." And she's like, "You have to. There's this thing called Band of Brothers." I have no idea what it was. I'm like,
Right.
Yeah, okay. And she's like, "You're flying out here now. We bought you your ticket." And I was like, "All right," flew out. And then I realized the people that were attached. I was like, should have said Steven Spielberg. Like, you know what I mean? Tom Hanks and stuff like that. So I go down there, and it's literally who's who. It's like every single person. I mean, I think something like 2,000 people auditioned for like the 13 American parts that were in it. And I remember the first person I meet that day was Donnie Wahlberg, and we were like that ever since. So, and Frank John Hughes. There's the three of us, right? I remember that too. And I think Frank was the first person cast. I was the second person cast. And then I had to get out of Oz, and I told Tom Fontana, I was like, "Tom, it's Steven Spielberg. It's Tom Hanks. It's, the greatest war miniseries." He's like, "Well, do you want off the show?" I was like, "No, I don't want off the show." "Do you want to escape and come back?" I was like, "Yes." It worked out way better than what I could ever imagine. And so, that's how it came about, man. And there should be a behind the scenes of the audition process. I mean, you're in a room, right? And there's like 200 kids there. It's a Saturday, and I read with Tom Hanks, and that was the first audition. And I'm doing the scene, and he's like, we do like 3 lines, and he's like, all right, you can act. He's like, "I'll see you tomorrow." And I'm like, "See you tomorrow? What do you mean, see you tomorrow?" He just leaves. I was like, "What do you mean, see you tomorrow? You got to come back tomorrow." I was like, "Yeah, it's like there's more people." And so there's like 200 people there, like Ricky Schroeder, like everybody, like,
oh my God,
just everybody. Just everybody. And they were mixing and matching people. You go in groups of 6. There was like 15 groups of 6 people. And they would, "Are you read this part? I read Garnier, and read this part, and read this part." And they bring me in a room, and I'm reading, I forgot who I was reading for, some other guy. And they had this one kid, he wasn't in it, he didn't get the part. And he just started fucking ad-libbing. And ad-libbing is great. But what makes a good ad-libber is like this. And if I'm like, "Hey, blah, 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 what's your name? What'd you do yesterday? What about you?" You got to include people. It can't just be about you and, you're flashing your dick around like, "Look at me." It just doesn't work. And that's what this kid was doing. And I was trying to say something, and he's like, "Hey, you big nose, shut up." And I go, "What'd you say to me?" And he goes, "Like, big nose." I go, "If I walk over there and I punch you dead in your fucking face, I'll punch you dead in your fucking face." And then Tom Hanks, he went, "Whoa!" I was like, I'm just playing. And I was being dead serious. You know what I mean? The difference is, I want to do that to you, you little piece of shit. So I played it to my advantage. And I think that's what got me the job, that moment right there. But literally, fucking Steven Spielberg is with a fucking camcorder, like this big, how it was in, 99. And he's filming. He's like, it's the craziest shit.
Yeah. What was that experience like, talking to him and just interacting? What was it like? The greatest director of all time.
He's the sweetest man, first of all. Humble man. When you talk to him, you forget he's that, because there's no airs about him, right? Like there's nothing. I'll tell you a quick story. So we finished Band of Brothers, and my wife wrote this script that his someone from his team saw or read, and just wondering if it ever got to his desk. Did he ever get a chance to read it? So he was by the Writers Guild in L.A., and I was at the farmer's market, and I just saw him there. I rushed back all the way to Beechwood Drive, drove right back with the script, and I get there, broke like every red light, and he's walking out of the Writers Guild as I get there. And I was like, Mr. Spielberg. And he jumped back because, like, you know, I'm wearing a hat and sunglasses. I didn't realize it. I pulled my hat off and the glasses. He's like, Joe Toy. I was like, yes, sir. How are you? Well, he's like, I saw your pilot for Black Donnelly's. Best pilot I saw all year. I was like, oh, thank you. And he's like, started talking about the Pacific. And he's like, I was like, I don't know if you read this script. And blah, blah, blah. He's like, what's it called? He said, Space Monkey. He's like, no, I would have remembered that title. He's like, I can't take it from you. And he was so, like, he felt so bad. He's like, it's just lawyer reasons and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, legally, he literally couldn't.
Legal reasons, yeah.
Unless you had signed some kind of a release or it came through an agency or a manager.
Do you have a short or a reel of it? I could take that from you. Just the kindest man. Like, you're just so nice guy. Like, he didn't have to do that. And
he doesn't even know he's a superstar, does he?
I'm sure he does. And I'm sure in a way he tries to humble himself even more because of that. He's as good as it gets. He's a good man.
Since you brought up when we were talking before we went live about Oz. Oz, yeah. I think, is one of, obviously, I think Oz was a very pivotal point in the history of HBO and their TV shows. I mean, they'd gone from things like Dream On, but Oz, with the level of everything from the nudity and the violence to the very adult subject matter, was really a groundbreaking watershed television show. And again, the actors, the ensemble of actors in that show was second to none. Yeah. And I'm just curious about that experience. And when you got involved, did you have any idea of like how intense that show actually would get and where everything was going? I mean, it literally was a descent into hell in the best way.
We had no idea. First of all, when I got the audition, my representation at the time said, so the part already was written for someone. And I'm like, why the fuck am I auditioning for it? I mean, you think I have a mouth on me now? You should imagine my mouth 30 years ago. I was like, what the fuck? You sent me in for this shit. So anyway, so I'm like, really? He's like, yes, but just go in. They had to talk me in. So I go there, and I'm thinking it's just going to be me, right? Like right? And so, and the reason why I got that audition was the casting director, Alexa Fogel, saw a Tooth of Crime, the Shepherd play, and brought me in for that. But there was like 9 other guys reading my part, and I was like the 9th one, and everyone's going in and they're fucking screaming. Second one's going in, he's fucking screaming. Third one's going in, he's fucking screaming. And I'm like reading it, and I was like, well, that's what I was going to do. So now I can't do that. So I'm reconfiguring the performance literally in the chair. And I'm like, I'm just not going to yell at all. And I'm just going to just do something completely different. And Tom's in the room and everything like that. And that guy didn't get it. And I got the part. So no, we didn't really know what it was. At that time, I think Arliss was the only half-hour show at the time on any cable network.
Right.
And we were the first 1-hour cable show ever. Because Sopranos, Six in the City, 6 Feet Under all came after us.
Yeah.
And the best job I've ever had, hands down. I mean, initially, obviously, we weren't you're not making network money and stuff like that. But we're shooting on 16 millimeter. You're creating art. You're literally creating art. And that changed network television. I mean, the stuff, the graphic wise, what we did back then, I mean, literally pales. I mean, I don't think Game of Thrones stuff stands up to what we did in Oz. I mean, I'm eating feces.
Yeah,
people are being crucified on the floor. I mean,
it was hardcore.
People were defecating in people's mouths. Yeah. I mean, it's just like you can't write that, but you did. It's thanks to Tom Fontana, who's literally, he's amazing. Amazing man. Love that man. Just, if anyone gets the opportunity to work with that guy, you run. You don't say, let me think about it. You run.
Well, I mean, you had people like Rita Moreno, right? And
Betty Buckley, Rita Moreno, B.D. Wong, just
J.K.
everybody.
Simmons.
Terry Kinney, one of the founding members of Steppenwolf. I mean, there's so many more we're leaving out,
No, it was I'm curious from an acting point of view. I mean, it was really the ensemble. Is one of the best ensembles that's ever been put together on any television show in the history of the medium. Yeah. And yet, I mean, what was it like for you as an actor? Because there's probably a lot of different techniques being employed by the various actors, and what was it like for you? Was the ensemble fun to work with? Did you guys have a great time, or was it hard because of the subject matter?
No, it's the best job. Every actor will say the same thing. It literally was a family, and I know shows say that, but they lie. They lie because they're just being PC. Me and Tom DM constantly over Instagram. He sends me these crazy chips. You know what I mean? It's like they're one of the most prolific television writers ever sending me these wild chips. You know what I mean? And so, we hung out. We work on set for 12 hours. We shot 7 to 7 every day. It's never heard of on television. Never heard of. 10 pages, 7 to 7 a day. 7 to 7 p.m. 7 a.m. 7 p.m. a day, and we're wrapped. We only shot in 7 years. Twice did overtime. Twice. Wow. And I was in both of those. So that's the reason why I know that. After that, we'd eat together, and then we'd go out and drink together. And we did it every day for 6-7 years. Wow. So, for me, that was my first job, on television. So I was very green. So my world at that time was theater, and I understood that world very well. I could stay, with you put anyone in front of me, and I felt very comfortable. It didn't matter how long they've been doing it. I was trained in theater, but TV was different, right? So the camera angles and, the camera lenses, the sizing and stuff like that, I kind of had to learn on the job. Part of me wishes I could go back and redo that performance. It would be demonstratively better. I would have created something just better. Right. I was so green back then. So I was doing a lot of watching and listening, as what all young actors should do. But I also could have created a lot more also. So, but having said that, the best experience, best job, best friends to this day. And yeah.
Kirk, you've done so many things. Just going through your IMDb is incredible, but you were talking about it a minute ago. So 7 people went ahead of you and they were yelling and you're like, oh, I can't do it that way. How much of getting these wonderful roles comes from kind of knowing when you're in the room and how to change up how your audition's going to go? And are you really flexible with that when you do things?
Yeah. Yes and no. So when you got to go in live, meaning when you have a test or you're going to meet the producers, obviously because of COVID, post-COVID, those things changed, right? So there's, auditions are now, you're recording your own auditions, you're meeting producers over like this, right? So, but when you go in live, it's a different energy. And then it's so funny because it's really, they set you up to fail because they put you in a room with all the actors you're competing with. And it's like, I love that in a sadistic way. I love, because I'm an athlete, I love that. That energy you get from competition, you use it. You know what I mean? It's titillating, so I love that they're seeing these other guys and that you're comparing and contrasting, and sometimes you have to switch it up, as opposed to now, it is what it is. What you worked on is what you're going to show them because you're not doing it live. You're not doing it in a room full of producers. So, but those early jobs that I got early on were from switching it up and also having people that rooted for you to win. You know, we're in a business where so many people root against you because, hey, for a myriad of different reasons, it's subjective. Talent is subjective, right? Acting is subjective. I like him. You like him because he looks like your ex. You hate him because he looks like your ex. You know, there's so many arbitrary reasons why people get jobs and don't get jobs, right? But what I mean by people, you need people to root for you because there's so few opportunities now. You know what I mean? Now since since COVID hit, you know, TV is where it's at. It used to be films, right? Like all the big movie stars doing films. How many TV shows, how many miniseries has Nicole Kidman? Like she's done like 8 since the pandemic hit. She's done like 8 series.
Right.
But like all those actors, those movie stars now are taking our jobs, the middle class actor jobs.
Right.
And I understand, like, hey, why pay Kirk his quote when we could get an ex-Oscar winner or nominee for a little bit more? You know what I mean? And so, you know, you have to have people that root for you. You do. There's got to be a balance. I mean, you know, you won't discover the new actors, the new talents, if you don't give them opportunities, you know? So
is that why, like, you know, Terry, I got to know Terry because of this whole experience, but a lot of the people that have worked with Terry always say that he promises them things and delivers. You know, he remembers you.
I thought you were going to say, and he doesn't deliver.
Oh, no. I mean, across the board, people have spoken about how Terry's come and stuck up for them and hired them over and over again. To be honest,
my second, other than Tom Fontana. Terry's right behind Tom.
I've never heard anyone spoken as well of in television as Terry Matalas is. And I'm not just saying that because I got to know him, but it's been interesting.
He's great.
How important is that for you as an actor? Like you were talking about having people in your corner. How important is that now? Because I think you made a really great point when you have Oscar winners coming into the TV space. If you don't have people that just know your work and will hire you, I mean, Terry even talked about how Todd Stashwick, they were writing for him in the writer's room, even before he was hired, you know. And what is that? How much does that mean to you as an actor in this day and age? And is it the kind of, how do you get that currency with showrunners and directors as an actor?
I mean, listen, I mean, there's special people that you build bonds with. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen every day, right? I mean, with Terry, you know, he let me play. And that in itself is a compliment to him, that he's secure in his own writing to let me riff. He's like, okay, I love when you said that. Just do me one for me and then go play. I was like, oh, fucking brilliant. You don't get that. Guys, you do not get that. Can I tell you? The more talented the writer is, the more he'll let you play because the more secure. Okay, Akiva Goldsman, the same thing. Let me play, let me rip, changing shit. Like everyone's looking at me like Oliver Stone, the same thing. When I went in to meet him, I rewrote his scene. And you're going, why would I rewrite Oliver Stone? It's not ego. It's nothing to do with it. The part that I was going in to do, it wasn't suited for this vessel, for this talent. What came out of my mouth would not work with what he wrote, right? So I had to rewrite it to make it come out of this mouth. And he understood. He goes, oh, I love what you did. And so Terry is one of those guys where he goes, we're doing like 3-4 different shoots sometimes. You know, you have 3 different units going on. You're doing 3 different episodes at the same time. You know, B unit and then 2 A units because it's crossing over.
Yeah, block shooting.
And Terry's like, block shooting. And Terry's like, hey, Kirk, just spice up that last scene. I go, what do you mean? Just do your thing and make it funny, crack some jokes. Because Terry, we have the same humor. We're a little kid humor, little dirty kid humor, right? So, and he just let me riff, man. And it just, I think Terry gets what I do and has a respect for it. And as I have a respect for what he does. You know what I mean? It's not work when you're working with Terry. I'll say that. It's not work.
It's awesome.
And that's how it should be. It's like playing football. It should be fun, man. Right? If you're playing these sports, baseball, and you should be happy every day. It's the same thing with acting, right? You should go to work and it should be fun. Some jobs aren't fun. With Terry, it's fun.
So when Terry gets the next Star Trek show and continuing in our current timeline, because KRINN's there, he's alive. He gave his key to Worf so he could go to Daystrom Station, right? Yeah. But he's there in that world. How quickly would you come back to do another series with him, even if KRINN wasn't, was just a set piece?
In a second. It would be a fun, it would be like, because I haven't gotten a chance to work with Fontana again. And you're like, and we're always like, this fell through, and and with Terry, it's still possible, right? Like it's still possible. It's still possible, both of those guys. But yes, I would jump to the opportunity to work with Terry again and make his life miserable.
We have a super chat from Ian Carrolls. Kirk, loved you in Band Brothers and Fringe. Glad to see you as part of the Star Trek family now. And then also from John Kokoza, appreciate the accessibility of Kirk and the other Picard Season 3 crew. This should be the benchmark of how to market series and films. Spending time with fans, no barriers, no access media.
Well said. Yeah, we've tried really hard to get as many, and I got to tell you, everybody from Picard Season 3 has been just wonderful coming here to answer questions and be open with us, and we appreciate you guys so much. What's next for you, Kirk? What are you working on now?
Just auditioning and writing with my wife, and we have a few irons in the fire that we're trying to see what comes about, and just looking for my next opportunity,
Awesome. Well, it should come quickly because you're amazing. Does anybody else have any other questions for Kirk?
Yeah, I had a quick question. So when you were working on 12 Monkeys and you'd get your script for the next episode, did you ever just look at that script and be like, I don't know what's happening right now? Because the time travel stuff is like so, you get to like episode 3 in season 3 and you're like, oh, that paid off from season 1.
Well, we would ask questions like that. We were like, so this happened prior. That we would always ask scripty stuff like that, and that's where scripty came in hand, and we would ask her. And also, those scripts came on time, so we knew what was going on. I'm just saying, But those questions would arise. This is before, this is after, and this is that would happen a lot when I went back in time with the whole Japanese thing, and when I went rogue, when Ramsey went rogue and went back in time to save his son. A lot of questions like that. Where are we at in the timeline? So, but
we got a super chat from Orville Nation. Oh, I'm sorry about that. We got over a super chat from Orville Nation. Love your interpretation of the dark side in your characters, Kirk. Love to see you on the Orville someday. Imagine him as the like some kind of like crime boss. That'd be great too.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Kirk. So I mean, you were only in one episode of this series, but I really loved The Offer, and I was wondering what you thought of The Godfather, just in general as a movie.
The Godfather 1 or 2 are in my top 5. If I had to pick 5, pick either 1 or 2. They would be in my top 5. So it's great. A buddy of mine, Dexter Fletcher, was directing both episodes of Band of Brother alum, and he called like Easter eggs, like what Terry did. He called in a bunch of us Band of Brothers and to make little cameos, and so that's what we did, is support our brother. But I love Godfather, and and that series. The whole behind the scenes stuff is incredible.
Matthew Good deserved to win the Emmy Award for playing.
He didn't win. I don't
think he was nominated. He wasn't even.
Are you serious?
I want somebody should make a TV show about the life of Bob Evans. You know, Bob Evans himself did the animated show about his life, and his audio book of him reading his own book, The Kid Stays in the Picture. Then they made the documentary.
Great documentary.
They should just do a whether it's true or not, Bob Evans in Hollywood, played by Matthew Good, from like the end of the 60s to the end of the 80s, because that guy slayed.
When we went to the premiere, my wife was there, and I go, he's going to win an Emmy. That's literally what I said. He should win an Emmy because it was that fucking good. And he doesn't even get nominated. I don't watch award shows, so
I don't think he did. Unless it's next year's Emmys, but it was. I couldn't believe his performance. It was one for the ages.
It was great.
He nailed him. He nailed Bob Evans.
Oh my God, it's so good, and he's great. Like, I remember seeing him. I mean, he plays Ozymandias in Watchmen, but he was in Tom Ford, the fashion designer. Tom Ford's first feature, A Single Man.
That's right.
He was incredible in that.
He's actually a very nice guy too. He's super nice. It's great when you see talented people that are freaking nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, sometimes you meet your heroes and they're a dick. You know what I'm saying?
I love you, Kirk. You're one of us. This has been a great open conversation. You know,
I'm a sci-fi nerd. Listen. Do you know what I go to bed to? You're gonna like no. If my wife could hear me, babe, what do I go to bed to every night? What do I watch? Go to sleep at night.
No.
2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that'll put you to sleep. Yeah.
I've seen it like 300 times. Like
great soundtrack. That's right.
Well, let me ask you
ahead of their time.
Let me ask you this, Kirk. Like, because you're a sci-fi nerd, is there a science fiction franchise out there you'd want to be a part of, like Dune or Stargate or Star Wars or something like that?
Dude.
Oh my God, Stargate, bro. He'd be perfect as a military guy in Stargate. Sorry.
Dune. I'm so mad at fucking Dune. I'm so fucking mad because I called my manager, and I was like, I need to be in Dune. I'm a character actor, and I'll just create what. Just give it to me. I'll put myself on tape, and then decide if you're going to send it on. And I'll just that's really what I do.
Harkonnen, a Fremen, you'd be perfect.
Yeah.
And they were like, casting was like, no, he's not right. I go, how the fuck am I not right? And this is what I can't even say what I want to say. But I'm very disappointed because there's, like, for instance, if you're doing Excalibur, which is my favorite movie of all time, right? Excalibur, John Boorman, my favorite. I thank God no one has tried to do a remake because it would fucking fail. There's probably maybe 2-3 directors that could really do that remake. But every other King Arthur and the Holy Grail, Knights of all that stuff has failed miserably.
Be Queen Arthur nowadays.
Are you the mother and the father now, Merlin? I love Excalibur. It's one of the great. Where's the 4K remaster of that on disc?
Oh, yeah, for real.
I mean, Nicole Williamson, how great was he? So good.
I mean, everybody, talk about a cast.
Helen Mirren.
Patrick Stewart's in it.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart.
He was in Dune, too.
He was in Dune, yeah.
He was in Dune,
too.
Liam Neeson.
But that's the thing, is like, that would be like, I would love to be an Excalibur. But I'm like, if you go, well, Kirk's not right for that. I go, I could see what you mean. I understand, right? But not with fucking Dune, man. Everything is makeup and prosthetics. And you're talking about someone that could change his voice around? Like, you dumb motherfucker. Like, that pissed me off, as you could tell. That pissed me off because it's like, how do you know? It's acting, man. Like, just give the person an opportunity. How long does it take to watch like his 2-minute audition tape? Let's get him apart, see what he does.
Well, there is the Sisterhood TV series for HBO Max. So they're doing a Dune TV series. it's about the origins of the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. So it takes place 10,000 years before the Dune movie, but it is HBO. And I hear you.
There's always
no. They're in the middle of. They had a big shakeup in the showrunners. Yeah. So they've changed things up.
My favorite books, man. They're incredible.
Dude, you gotta get. I mean, I hear that you know people at HBO. Maybe. Come on.
They're all different now.
That
was a different HBO back then. But
come on, Band of Brothers, Oz. You gotta be in the sisterhood. Needs you.
Yeah.
I mean, listen. I mean, I love the original. I mean, there's just so many flaws about the remake. It's just like the performances are fine. They were great. I mean, there's certain people I would just I won't mention names. Like I'm like, you're ruining the whole fucking franchise. Kill him. You know, or kill her. You know what I mean? And I'm sure I know he knows you. You know what I'm talking about. And they're actually really talented actors, but you're just miscast because they didn't understand the fucking tone. Sci-fi has a tone, and you don't understand it. It's a little bit.
Yes.
It's a little bit big. Do you know what I mean? And you could be edgy and you could be small, but it's still big. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they weren't doing that. You weren't selling it, man. You come from these families. Like, I could go on. I could literally recast that entire fucking film. You know what I mean?
And, you sound like our review of it. So
visually, yes. Visually, yes.
Oh yeah, it looked great.
But fight scenes were fucking terrible.
Yeah, slow, boring. Yeah, they weren't big.
We're doing Japanese like samurais. We're doing samurais. That's what we're doing. But we're like, okay, did you just see John Wick?
Hey, there you go.
Look at their stunts. It's got to be violent. And if you're not going to do it violent, you do it like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and you make it beautiful. But they didn't either. And then the suits were terrible. The original wetsuits were freaking brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
You mean the David Lynch version?
Yeah.
David Lynch one, brilliant. And also, it explained it better what was going on because they had narration, and that was something that he, you know, like for instance, when he puts his hand in a box, that whole thing wasn't good enough. But like with all the special effects, I want to see the hand melting.
Yes,
show it.
Yes. Yep.
And so when you show the hand melting, you realize at that moment, wow, the power that he has. That it fizzled. It fizzled. And like the whole thing when she goes, when she uses the wielding to come, she goes, come here, right? And you hear, and he struggles.
Right.
There's none of that. And she goes, wow, he's strong. And you know what I mean? And she does it again. No. Whatever it was. You know what I mean? There's not that. There's not. It's just little things.
We need Kirk on here with us every week to talk about all the coming out. This would be fantastic.
Kirk, when you're making your directorial debut?
Something we're working on.
Nice.
That's one of the. That's.
Are you working on that with your wife?
No, say it one more time.
You working on that with your wife?
One of the things we're working on will be that I get to. It's something I've always wanted to do. I just
looked her up. I love her in Saved by the Bell.
You sound just like a director, man. You sound just like a director.
Yeah, you do.
About movies.
So you know, you have directors that just want to direct. Hey, I hired you to act. You do what you got to do. But that's not what Steven Spielberg. He does everything, right? He knows how to do everything. He do everybody's job on set, but he's rare. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, you're thinking it in 4 different dimensions, right? You're thinking of it as a director. I'm thinking about it as the performances. I'm thinking about the audiences that are going to watch it and what's going to move them too. There's different layers upon layers. You know what I mean? It's not just point and shoot. You know what I mean? And knowing the camera lens, and I could have my DP do all of that. I mean, you got to know it too. What I'm saying, but there's performance is a huge part of it. You know, back in the day, like, you know, a lot of guys are just, you know, you for instance, who's the guy who did The Graduate? Who directed The Graduate?
Mike Nichols.
Mike Nichols. He's not doing like an Antoine Fuqua movie where it's like super cuts and like I'm going to get an epileptic seizure. You just leave it on the scene. Let the actors work. And you start zooming in slowly.
Right.
And it's just in the two, like it says it all. Like, I don't want to see the camera. And nowadays we see the camera and look, oh, it swoops down from the crane, and it zooms in and it swoops back up and all. But it's wow, yeah, it's a cool camera shot. But it's not telling the story.
It's not telling the
moving
story.
The story forward.
Well,
I think that you made a really today. I'm a film editor as well, and part of the reason I think a lot of people shoot a lot of coverage these days is because they don't trust their actors.
Yes.
You know, they by you can build a performance in post if you have enough coverage. And I miss that. I think if you go back and you look at movies like stuff that Paul Thomas Anderson directs, like Boogie Nights or things like that, you know, he's really allowing actors. And I think one of the reasons that we love movies so much and why I don't think we'll ever have to worry about AI necessarily for replacing people is because we love to watch actors. We love to watch people creating characters. And one of the things I loved about your portrayal of KRINN is it felt like there was something going on behind your eyes. And it was something, I thought the way you played that character was not, Star Trek characters can be, especially like Next Generation characters, can be archetypes rather than characters.
Yeah.
And I think one of the great things about what Terry and the writing staff did for Picard season 3 is we've seen all of our characters that were in the original 7 seasons of TNG. They were very archetypical. And I think the way they've been written in this season of Picard has been very character oriented. It's much more grounded. They're dealing with mortality and they're dealing with their feelings. And it really feels like the show has grown up. But that also is true of the way you played KRINN. Like we're seeing, because Vulcans have been very one note, especially a lot of the actors that come in and do it for a day, they think it's more robotic. And whereas the way you played KRINN, there was, even though you're a crime boss, there was a very quiet malevolence in your performance that I thought was fan-fucking-tastic.
I thought the same thing at first until I had the conversation with Terry. I was like, Terry, like if I got to play it like no emotion, like, I mean, like the performance will just, there'll be no, he's like, no, dude, you have emotion. Like you're like the anti-Vulcan. You know what I mean? But
I mean, Vulcans became Romulans. You know, the people that didn't want to apply logic and the teachings of Surak lit off and started the Romulan Empire. Vulcans were the most passionate people of all. You know, and then they applied these teachings. So and that's the thing, people don't get that Harry does, but Vulcans have emotions. They're just very controlled. Yes. And that's what I liked about you. If you were like, you know, Vito Corleone. You knew what you needed to do, and you would say something.
You gotta like him. You know, I could be a bad guy and an evil guy and a serial killer and kill everybody. But what if I do the scene and you really like me and I'm really nice? That makes it more realistic, and it kind of like, oh my God, I feel like I'm liking this guy. The same thing with any bad guy in any genre, right? Like whether you're doing, Seven or Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, there's got to be moments of humanity. They're not bad, right? Like it's just, and also it's one dimensional. Like we're so much more complex. Like I see you here, your personality here. That's not your personality when you're with your wife or with your friends or when you're home alone. Like there's many different facets, right? It's the same thing with a performance, right? There's many different facets. So
love it.
I got a super chat question for you, actually, Kirk. Mr. Vicious, was terror a motivation for you as Joe Toy? And did you get to meet him?
Was terror a motivation?
Yeah, I'm reading it verbatim. Anyone know what that
Yeah,
means?
I wonder, I mean, you guys were at war, obviously. So I wonder if, you had to show that sort of emotion where, you're in battle, but you're also kind of afraid for your lives to some degree. Maybe that's what he means.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to meet Joe Choi. He passed away 2 years, I think I want to say 2 years before we started filming. It was unfortunate. I met Winters and Malarkey and Garnier and one other person. The hardest thing about that show was you were given an opportunity to represent these men who were real people and who were truly, profoundly heroes. I don't make men like that anymore. There's no self-analysis. Today we have self-analysis and we have Xanax and we have therapy. Back then they didn't have that, man. You know what I mean? You did it because that's what you did. You know what I mean? So it's what the country needed at the time. You know what I mean? And if you had to medicate yourself, it was with the bottle. And unfortunately, a lot of them had those issues. Not saying specifically the Band of Brothers, but just people in World War II in general, or who have seen live combat. So that was the hardest thing, was fighting for our characters, because there were certain stories that were part of the series that, got taken out, and you're fighting for your guy, and it's got to be in.
Right.
And there was a story of Joe Toy and Bastogne where he just disappeared. He went missing. And they're like, Joe Toy went AWOL. Joe Toy didn't go AWOL. He had 3 Purple Hearts by this time. He had 4 after Bastogne when he lost his leg. So it wasn't that. He comes back a day later with a live German prisoner.
Oh my God.
It's just, you can't write it. And I go, how do you leave that out?
Right.
Because it's not like you can leave it out. That's a whole episode. So that's an episode that they can't fit in. You know what I mean? And I'm like, sounds like an episode I want to see. And not because it's my guy.
Right.
It is because of my guy, but that's shit you want to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, wait, this guy just went AWOL, and how did he do it? And then drug him back alive? Like, it's just crazy. So those guys are just, Winters came to set, and he's seeing all the guys. This was early on. It was like maybe in the first, because it was like, it took like 29 days per episode. So it was like a month an episode, and then like another week of B unit. So it was like a good 35, 36 days. And he came during the first episode, and Spielberg was supposed to direct the first episode, but if I'm not mistaken, he got appendicitis, and that's why he couldn't do it. And we were, I know for me, because I was like, I want to be, but we got Philip Alden Robinson from Field of Dreams, who's great.
Sneakers.
Great.
Sneakers,
River Phoenix, yeah. And so he came to set, Richard Winters, and he's like, where's Toy? Who's playing Toy? He did the eulogy for you end up crying right now. It's so emotional. And there's nothing like seeing a grown man like that, who did what he did, start crying when he sees you. It's just, so that's why for me, and I don't mean this in any, but the documentary that comes with the box set of Band of Brothers,
so
to
good.
me is almost better than the entire series, because you see the actual men, you hear them, you know what I mean, and it's so profound, and it's moving. Yeah.
Kirk, I wanted to ask you real quick. You got such a huge body of work under your belt. Is there one particular day on set or a job or a gig that just stands out in your mind as being one of your best days on set?
2. So it would be the Thin Red Line, when John Tall looks over and he goes, Wander, and just pats me on the back and says, fucking attaboy, kid. And that was my first big film, you know, and it's everybody that was moving. And the second I got to work with one of my heroes in Gary Oldman and sitting on set for fucking hours every day, and we spoke about film and we spoke about his performances, and he kept on saying to me, he was like, you sound exactly like what's his name from Apocalypse Now.
Marlon
I love
Brando.
the smell. I love the smell.
Robert
of
Duvall.
Robert Duvall, yeah.
He's like, he
Colonel
wanted me to do that
Kilgore.
over and over again. You know what I mean? And then De Niro impersonations. You guys have the same, like, you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm like, no, dude, like you're
Gary Oldman.
He's a wonderful man, like wonderful. To meet somebody at that level, you know, I've worked with like some big people, Sean Penn, like huge people, like, you know, and people like him and Colin Farrell, who's another one of my favorites. They're just a regular guy. They're like us, man.
Yeah.
They're literally just like us. They love just talking about films. And what moved him is like Raging Bull. And he just would do Raging Bull lines to me throughout the day. Passing by Crafty, eating his thing. He's like, I got little hands. Like, you're just like, and it's just, I'm looking at it, and it's just like, I'm looking at this man's mouth move, and I'm like, it's fucking Sid Vicious.
Right.
That's like, and I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Did you make him do lines from The Professional?
Everyone.
No, I could do him so, but I didn't do it because I didn't know how. Because with actors, it's such a fine line. You don't know how they're going to take it. But he's great.
Have you ever seen Romeo is Bleeding?
That he's brilliant. I love it.
That it's one of my favorite movies that not enough people have seen.
What's her name? Who is in it? Is brilliant.
Lena Olin.
Lena Olin is fucking the shit in that.
It's so good.
I just saw that recently, like during the pandemic. I watched that again.
Dig the hole. Got to fill the hole.
We got a couple comments for you, Kirk.
Yeah, go ahead.
First one here is from Geek Boats Collect. They say, loved you on Oz, Kirk. Sad that Law and Order trial by jury didn't last longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I'm surprised that there wasn't a Law and Order show that didn't go 30 seasons.
Well, you know, the funny thing is that was the first Law and Order show that got canceled, and I happened to be part of it, which is, I'm just like, why is this happening to me? The funny thing is that was on a Fridays, and you know what we averaged on a Friday? We averaged 16 million, and they dropped us.
What?
Wow. What? Friday's the death slot. That's an amazing number.
Because there's different things. At the time, Dick Wolf was renegotiating 3 of his shows at the time. The Mothership, meaning Law and Order, Criminal Minds, and he had another one. There's the Mariska one, there's the Mothership, the Mariska one, and then also the Vincent D'Onofrio one. So you had those 3. Trauma Jury was 4, and I just think NBC didn't want to negotiate 4 shows. And we were, you know, a casualty. And it just sucks, man, because, I mean, well, it kind of sucks. But
you know, Kirk, these guys up here, they run a DC Universe YouTube channel. So they got to ask you, like, what was it like working on the final seasons of Arrow?
Oh, it's great. You know, it's another part that they let me do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it just was so much fun. I wish there were so many takes that we couldn't even use because I would just, you just couldn't use it. Even though I didn't curse in it, it looked so viscerally like foul. Like it just looks like I'm cursing and I'm not.
Right.
just because that's just like doing like the professional shit as my guy, literally doing buck wild. I remember like we kidnapped the girl. I forgot the characters' names. The bird girl who I was working with.
Black Canary.
Black Canary, yeah, bird girl. I'm like, whatever. Blonde. Working with the blonde. And like I have her like chained up and stuff like that. and I'm saying something. They were like, the director was just like, I fucking love this. We can't use any of this. Because I'm literally like, oh yeah. I can't even say what I'm saying. Like I was like, just derogatory shit to a woman, but as the character.
Right.
And
Canceled.
It just was so X-rated, like without being showing or saying anything that was vulgar, right? It just was the performance. So I wish it was cable because,
Kirk.
I'm meant to be on cable. Let's just put
Kirk. Yeah. Your acting is and your name is appropriate. Is vicious because while I love DC, my favorite comic book role for you was in Marvel, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
When you were like viciously going after the main character and attempting to, it was like your character. You weren't playing a robot. You were a regular agent, but you looked like the Terminator 2000, just dominating down the. It was you were a scary looking agent. You're supposed to be the good guy, but you were coming after. Did anyone tell you that you were the good guy in that scene because you were gnarly in that episode?
No, I didn't. I didn't really know what was going on. That's what I'm saying. Is sometimes
we didn't either.
Yeah, I was going to say the writing staff didn't either.
Sometimes you go on a show and they let you know what's going on, and sometimes you go on a show and you have no clue what's going on.
It worked out.
I'm like, I have no idea, like who are any of these people and what I'm supposed to be doing, and so, but my guy is doing the new DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think my man needs to hire me to put me in the
DC
I agree
universe,
with that, man. Because he wants to compete with Marvel. Let's make it.
Who do you want to play it in the DC universe?
I don't care. I just want to have fun. It's like one of my assets is just my physicality that never gets to be used.
Right.
I just never. It's just the craziest thing. Like, I mean, I'm in super shape and I never get to show it. I'm always in a suit, or I look, like some degenerate crackhead, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't. Like to quote
you'd be perfect for the Authority, though. Like playing that fine line.
Oh, you could play Midnighter.
Oh yeah.
You could be Midnighter.
That fine line between it's like anti-hero, that character.
That's where it's at. That's exactly right. Anti-hero is perfect.
I got another super chat for you, Kirk. It says, "Oh snap! It's Kirk, the Dragon. Love you, man. Your performance and career has been tops."
Oh, very cool.
And another one from Ghost Rider. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I had a great time on Arrow. Just another. They let me do my thing. It was very cool.
Yeah. No, and the last season of Arrow was, you can tell all the characters were like at their highest comfort level in that during that last season.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
That's right. From Ghost Rider to all those who worked on Picard season 3, may your work bring honor and glory to your house. To our newest Vulcan, live long and prosper.
Ooh, nice. And Kapla.
And Kapla. We got another
you
super chat.
You hear that, Terry? KRINN. KRINN, the beginning.
Listen, change.org/Star Trek Legacy. Go sign it. We might be able to get more KRINN if Terry comes back.
Well, it's terrytrek.com actually. So terrytrek.com. You go sign the petition, because actually, I don't know if you know this, Kirk, but we are hugely pushing to get Terry a new Star Trek series, because he freaking deserves it.
He needs to. And listen, you guys. So you guys are the professionals when it comes to the Star Trek history. Am I not wrong in saying, if you do something where you show a different part of the Star Trek universe, where it's the underworld, you're telling me you're not going to get brand new eyeballs, new fans, and new followers? It opens up Pandora's box in a good way.
Right.
Like it's untapped. Right.
Well, what's interesting? you know, we've seen a criminal element. There's always been some kind of a criminal element. I mean, all the way back to the very first season of the original series in '66, when you had people like Harry Mudd, Roger Carmel's version of Harry Mudd, whether it was human trafficking or selling drugs, or there's always been something. And the idea that Utopia needs a criminal, I think the idea of a Vulcan crime boss is something that's new. You know, that idea is very new. I mean, I know that there's been, I've read a lot of, I'm embarrassed to admit how many Star Trek novels I've read, but the way you played KRINN was, I mean, it was I thought a star-making perform. Not that you're not already a star, but I mean, in terms of the Star Trek universe, that character is somebody that, you know, they're going to do an IDW comic book about him, and he's going to show up in Star.
You want to see more. Like, you got a taste, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I want the full meal now.
And
like, I want to know.
It's like Tuvix. You got one episode with Tuvix, but there's how many things created about that character?
But I do think the idea of what does it mean to the idea of applying logic, because in a way, Michael Corleone in Godfather 2, his big mistake is that he didn't have his father's heart. He didn't have Vito's heart, and he applied logic. He was ruthless, but and that's why he when he killed his own brother, he was damned forever. There was there was no resolution. And if you had a character like KRINN, in a way, the way you played him, I thought of Michael Corleone in Godfather 2, because you were a man that you would never have killed Sneed, but somebody else did, and like you were there to deal with it. And it would be really interesting to see what a Vulcan crime boss would do in the 25th century, and how would that go. And there's never been a Star Trek show like that. And, they're always trying, they keep trying to let's make a Starfleet Academy show. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see, and they're going to do one, whatever.
It's been
Nobody
done
cares.
a million times. You want new fans. You already have the fans you have. You need to keep on adding to the pot now, right? Like, you have to let it grow.
It's the anti-utopia, and the idea that Star Trek has this very optimistic point of view, and Gene Roddenberry believed that we would, but when you're out in space, Earth and the Federation is a utopian society, but we're pushing out into the world, into the universe, and why wouldn't a Vulcan who didn't get to grow up on Vulcan, who grew up in Metalis Prime or whatever, the idea of what you did is so compelling. It would just need great writers. I mean, can you imagine a show at the level of the writing level of The Wire, with a Vulcan crime boss with KRINN at the center of it? That's a fucking show, man.
Terry's the guy to do it.
I know.
So he's
you would think that. I mean, that's a golden idea. They're talking about let's do all these other things. Let's continue, but no one's ever come up with. I mean, obviously, we saw Deep Space Nine, which was pretty cool on a station. It worked really well, but a crime show.
Yeah, imagine you got the Orion Syndicate. You've got now you've got KRINN. You've got it'd be fantastic. All the Ferengi.
You do it like King. It's King of New York. You're Christopher Walken in King of New York.
Correct. Correct.
There you go. Except it's a whole series. You don't get knocked off.
And they're aliens with prosthetics. I mean, but that's what it is. The performance, that's what it is. It's King of New York.
Perfect time for James Hancock here. He says, we need a Star Trek Sopranos hybrid episode about a Vulcan crime family. Keep up the amazing work. Yeah. I agree with that.
James.
Kirk, I got a serious question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
From back in the Fringe days, are you able to call up Kurtzman and Goldsman and be like, hey, can you get my boy Terry a permanent gig doing this Star Trek stuff?
I don't know them like that. Yeah, I don't know them. Like, I met them, but I don't.
And when actors make those calls, it can go badly.
Orville Nation says give Terry Trek. Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. Is like you have certain relationships with people. Like I could call up Tom anytime I want. You know what I mean? And Terry and a few other people.
Give Spielberg a call and just be like, "Can you make Kurtzman my boy?"
I don't think anyone can give up Spielberg a call.
Yeah.
Maybe
you
George
might run for me.
We got a super chat from Jermaine
George
King.
Lucas could, yes.
Yes, George Lucas can. Robert Meyer Burnett. Kirk just said that he loved Excalibur. He just got more impressive. P.S. The land and the king are one.
Yes.
What is the secret of the Grail? Who does it serve?
Do you know the armor? The
Oh,
gold
no.
armor?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I almost bought that years ago. The gold armor, so it's
cool.
Mordred's armor.
Right, and so it was the plate was redone because it was the end of the movie when he got speared through the chest. So they redid it, and then the helmet is the actual helmet. And I was like, oh, I came so close. That's how much I love that film.
Okay, I can't
so close.
I can't say who this is live. I can tell you off camera, but a friend of mine, a pretty famous or infamous, you could say, director, but a friend of mine, one of my very best friends in the world in the business, bought the hero Excalibur sword from John Borman himself. And
I just got chills.
And
because you can't get them. You can't get them.
No, and not only that, John Borman wrote him a letter of authenticity, and he has it. He has one of the most insane collections of props, and he goes and he's very specific about what he likes, and he has it.
That's pretty brilliant.
And there's a very nice letter from John Borman himself.
I gotta wait till he dies to buy it off him. I assume he's older than me.
He's close he's close to my age, but I don't.
He's
know
older.
I don't know if he'll. Older. Yeah, sell it. But I can tell you, you live on the East Coast, right? Or do you live in L.A.?
L.A. Yeah.
Oh, you're in L.A. Well, we should just go to his house and get a picture of you.
That'd be cool.
I don't know if he got it. He might have Mordred's helmet as well.
But there's a few different helmets. Like there's a few.
Yeah.
Because they have more than one. But this is the thing. Then there's going to be a ring camera of me running away with the sword. I'm going to steal the fucking sword.
This just in.
Yeah. No, it's a real Vulcan crime family now.
Right.
I mean, and the other stuff he has.
He's a method actor.
The other stuff he has is equally impressive.
Is it?
Yeah, because I'll tell you something, because you brought it up. This person was going to direct a remake of Excalibur. And there is a script.
Wow.
How long ago was this?
8 years ago? About 8 years ago?
Okay, so who was it that was supposed to direct it? Are they British?
No. But they live in L.A.
I can't say anything. Excalibur is just so...
Yeah.
I can't... there's very few people that could direct that. And I'm sorry, but everyone's got to be like, they got to be European. No Americans. Don't put any fucking.
Well,
Americans
but we should go. I'll get Terry, and because there's things that this person has that Terry would love to see too.
What did you think? What did you think of Legend of the Sword, Kirk? The Guy Ritchie King Arthur.
It's not King Arthur. I don't know. I didn't know what that was. I didn't. I enjoyed it. No, but I enjoyed it as a. When I say things like that, I'm not shitting on it. I love film. I could go to a film and watch anything. It's very hard. I could watch bad films and enjoy it for being bad because it still entertained me because I could make fun of it. But I was entertained. I could see what they were doing. It was great. I love the lead guy, the Scottish guy who played the evil king. I like him. I think he's a talented guy. You know, the Shining remake. He's fucking great. It just isn't my King Arthur, the traditional. I mean, I was going to say the historical
sequel
one.
Trilogy compared to the original trilogy.
The mythological one is what I want to see. That's what I mean.
Well,
historically, you know.
It was so stylized what Borman was doing. I mean, it from the armor, you know, that wasn't any real armor. That was completely stylized armor. It looked incredible the way it was shot, all of that, using Wagner, you know, the Ring of the Nibelung cycle.
Robert, do you think it was weird that he had his daughter get naked in front of camera?
KRINN. You know, I mean, at least he knew what she was doing that day. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. So I produce special features for the Usual Suspects DVD, and one of the first people I interviewed was Uther Pendragon himself. You know, and the great Gabriel Byrne, the star of The Usual Suspects. And whenever I interviewed celebrities, actors that I don't know, I always want to open up with something that it has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about, just so they know that I've done my research. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, before we start, I got to say, dude, what was it like? And I said, to sleep with John Borman's daughter in a full suit
right now, listening to
in a full suit of armor. And he just laughed. And first of all, nicest guy in the world. He goes, no one even remembers, in his Irish brogue, no one even remembers I was in that movie.
Of course they do.
I was, yes, yes, yeah. You know, and I was like, Anal Nathrak Uthras Bethel Dutil, you know, and I'm like, and it was, you know,
I was going to ask you if you could do the charm of making. That's my test.
Yeah.
I'm a true fan. Yeah.
It was very funny when I'm not married anymore. Perhaps this is why not. But when I was being married, I had all my friends dress up, and we had this cosplay wedding in Vegas. We did last minute. And I said that as my wedding vow.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Did fog and smoke
well, we got married by a guy dressed as Spock in the Viva Las Vegas chapel.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was hilarious. The whole thing was hilarious. And it was funny because when my wife, she was game for this. It was on New Year's Eve for the true millennium when it went to 2001, not 2000. Yeah. And just as a joke, we said we decided to get married, and then that morning, I'm like, I just sent an email to everyone. We're getting married, and we're having a costume wedding where everybody has to come dressed as their favorite character from sci-fi, fantasy, or horror, and we're going to get married in the Vegas chapel. I didn't really think about it. We just did it, and it was funny.
Do you know the original sets of Excalibur were not for Excalibur? They were for Lord of the Rings, because that's what he was planning on wearing. Did you not know that? Yeah,
I did not know that. I didn't know. Wow.
Yes. There's a documentary. It came out a year and a half ago.
Yes, the fan-made
They talk about this. I knew about this because there was an article about John Borman's life, and that was one of the things he was working on for years was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do two. Instead of a trilogy, he was going to do two, and all the sets was ready to film, and just the money fell out, studio backed out, and then he decided to do Excalibur, and so he reused those sets.
Wow!
So those are Lord of the Ring sets, but I can't imagine his Lord of the Ring. It's the wrong time. The CGI wasn't up to date. It would have been terrible.
Yeah, Excalibur was great. That was what we needed. So,
yeah, we got another super chat. Can you ask Kirk what he thinks about the growing fandom of Fringe?
I didn't know
is it coming back?
Wow, it's getting a lot of views.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, great. I mean, I wish I was part of it more and longer, but I'm happy. I'm glad people are enjoying it. Anna Torf is great. She's a sweetheart, man. She really is. I mean, she had a tough first year for her. Because that was her first big gig. Yeah, and so having to learn like 11 pages a day, and she's like in every scene. There's no moment for her to. I mean, for a stone cold professional, like who's been doing it all his life, would have had a hard time. I mean, do you know what I mean? Right. So, a relative novice, meaning, her first, not her skill set, but her working in the medium, like it was hard, man. I sympathize with her.
Did you see her in The Last of Us?
Oh, she was great in The Last of Us.
No,
and she was awesome in Mindhunters too.
Oh,
I heard she was good. My wife saw that. She loved that. Yeah,
that scene where spoiler alert, the scene where she dies in Last of Us is awe-inspiring. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's terrifying.
That's the best scene probably in the show.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is.
If you guys want to watch Fringe, it's on Hulu, I think, streaming right now. It's like one of the top streaming shows on Hulu.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Brian Harper said, just got here. Joe Toy, love Band of Brothers.
You know, Shane, you said that, and Kirk, I could see Kirk being like, "Where are my royalties?" It's like, shouldn't I be getting a check?
Now they just deposit them into your bank. Now they don't send you checks anymore. You have the option. You could just,
Nice.
you know, because there's nothing worse when you get like, I get like 100 Oz checks and they're like $25. You know what I mean? It's like 16 cents, 1 penny. And it's like you have to sign everyone.
Oh my
God!
God!
And the ladies looking at you like, seriously?
Because
they come quarterly.
You get royalties for like Fringe and these like syndicated shows still, like years later.
Residuals, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's how actors live when they're not working. You know, it's what they.
Yeah.
It also pays into their health insurance.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you could use that as your, you made money, and that's, so.
Yeah,
because producers the same thing. The producers get royalty, directors get royalty, same thing, same residuals, same thing.
As it should be. Yeah.
During
COVID, that helped you a lot. I bet.
Oh yeah.
COVID.
Oh, it helps all actors. Yeah, totally. And
some of the greats were on Fringe, and it's funny. Like I just looked it up. Yeah, there are people like calling to have Fringe come back. And when you look at all the people that played parts on Fringe over the years, like there are literally like sci-fi legends. You know, Leonard Nimoy, John Noble, like huge, and even like smaller bit roles. Yeah, like that would be a hell of a series. Now they finished the series, but I guess you could technically bring it back in some form.
But like you said, Kirk, that the beginning, the scripts weren't. Fringe was a show that it evolved each season. Like they figured out where it was going, as opposed to, I would much rather see another show that like Terry and Christopher Monfett could come up with, like 12 Monkeys, that's so well thought out. You know, that the actors know that going in. And I would think it's hard because with television, you still have to make pilots, and they still, whether you get a series order or a season order, full season order, or you make a pilot. It's the problem with, like, you'll make a show like Lost. The pilot for Lost is one of the great pilots ever done for TV.
Buddy, that first season is arguably top 10 best first season ever in TV.
Oh, yeah, and you look at it, but then they didn't know, like, I have what I call impossible premise shows where they come up with this great idea. And my favorite one now, because it's glorious gobbledygook, is Manifest. Like Manifest, when I watch the pilot for Manifest, I'm like, they have no idea where this is going to go. They have no idea where it's going to go, and I think that there's no way, not only do they have no way, their pilot was so intriguing, and they out-clevered themselves.
Yes,
because there's no way they could take this show. And hey, I was a big supporter of this. I'm like, I just watched it with my mouth agape just to see how much more ridiculous it would go. And the cast of that show was awesome because they were given it was so ridiculous that I always wanted, like, I didn't know anybody on that show, but I'd love to buy them all a drink and take them out and just ask them questions about the plot points. And then when Netflix picked it up, I was one of the people like #save Manifest just to see where are they going to go with this.
My wife was trying to get me to watch it. She goes, "Oh, you're going to love this." I'm like, "No, listen, I know the way this ends. I've lived through Lost. And I'm not gonna feel good at the end of it. So I don't even want to start it. I'm sorry.
But Manifest, I mean, in terms of the post-Lost shows, it might be the most ridiculous and my favorite. And God bless them all. And thank God they came back for Netflix.
Maybe watching it from that perspective, like, I know it's ridiculous.
I'll tell you a little Lost joke, a little story. So I get these sides. You have an audition. I was like, "Where's the script? Well, what's it about?" And I don't even remember the part. I have no idea. And she goes, "It's about these people. They crash land on a deserted island." I'm like, Gilligan's fucking Island. I didn't audition for it because I was like, Gilligan's Island. But at the time, JJ wasn't JJ.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did Regarding Henry. I think this was his first TV show, right?
So,
Yeah, that was Alias was his first.
Alien, and he also did
Felicity.
Yeah.
Felicity as well.
Felicity. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. But so I didn't know, especially when there's no script and you just have like 2 pages of a scene. Like, I don't know how to even perform that. You know what I mean? No, but that happens a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For massive projects. You know, something that Steven Spielberg does, which is brilliant for his films. So when he doesn't want to release the script, he'll give you a scene. Like I remember auditioning for what's the one with Tom Cruise? Minority Report.
Mm.
And they gave me the sides to American Beauty to read. And that's what he does. And he gives you these powerful scenes that are similar to the character that you might play. And it's more, fleshed out.
Well, you were also, I mean, you also were part of, I think, one of the great unsung modern sci-fi trilogies is the new Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great one.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. I mean, in terms of rebooting, and the funny thing about that franchise is it still works with the original 5 classic ape films. You can still watch it and it works.
Yeah.
And you were great. And the all 3 of those movies, they're so well done. And Matt Reeves, you work with Matt Reeves, and
he's great.
What a fantastic time. Could you talk a little bit about that? What was it like being on set with apes that weren't apes? Before it was like, John Chambers is putting everybody in makeup, so the actors, but you were not acting with simians
they
at
were
all.
Blue suits and dots. And
was that tough as an actor?
No. It was tougher for those guys, for Andy Serkis, because when they had to film all his stuff, the CGI stuff, he does it without any of us actors.
Wow, yeah.
We're gone. We're wrapped.
Wow.
So technically, he's just there for us.
Wow.
That's
because
wild.
they're not filming them. They're doing it all in a warehouse. And all those scenes will be reshot. And he'll have to do the performances. And Andy Serkis, I felt so bad because he gave you 100, man. And I love this because I love guys who do their off camera and they give you 100 because that's how I am. I give you 100.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? The camera's not even on me. I'm doing this for you. And I'm giving you 100. And that was Andy Serkis, man. Gave you 100. So I felt bad. Like, they wrapped all the actors and they all left. And he was so mad because he's like, but they're not there, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I stood there for him and I gave everybody's off lines to him.
Nice.
I read everybody's lines part, but it was just my way of giving him a little respect.
Wow, that's
he's a good man.
Have you seen? He's in the new Luther movie. The Idris Elba, they made a Luther, the TV series Luther. They made a movie, and he plays the serial killer, and he's fucking great in it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Great. He's really good.
I saw the show. I can't wait to watch the movie now.
Yeah, the movie's pretty good. I mean, it gets a little big. I mean, in terms of the plot, like, wait a minute,
it's long. It's long then.
Well, no, I mean, I think the movie works at a nice clip. It's just the plot. I have questions about certain things that happen, but I didn't.
They really condensed it down.
Yeah, it's not like the series. It's just one movie. But Serkis is great. Yeah, he's maybe not 7 great, but he's pretty great.
Yeah,
he's pretty great. He's great.
Listen, he's very like he's like us. Do you know what I mean? Like grab a beer with him, you wouldn't even know he's been in these films. Like he's a good dude.
Kurt, did you ever have a chance to talk to John Noble about his role in Lord of the Rings? since you're such a big Excalibur
I
fan.
did because he was so freaking brilliant in that. I remember telling him that, but I don't remember the conversation. But he's like really good in that. I just saw that. That's another film I could fall asleep to. The Lord of the Rings, the first one, or the first Hobbit. Like I switch on what I could fall asleep to because they're long, the extended versions, 3.5 hours,
God.
4 hours, and I could just fall into that deep sleep and a little fantasy magical land. So
that's right. Fall asleep to Middle Earth.
it's my favorite book is Lord of the Rings. So I had the audition for that too, but I don't know what part I was auditioning for that. I ended up couldn't do it because I was working. But
what would you have wanted to do? What part?
To be honest, I was so young back then. You're talking about I was 24 or whatever when the first one came out. I don't even know what I would be right for, to be honest with you. Like, even now, like, you know, I'm older, but I don't look my age.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is one of the things that's probably been a hindrance in my career is I don't look my age. You know what I mean? So they know I'm older, but I can't. They don't hire you for younger, but I can't play my age either at all.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, you could have played Gimli.
Yeah, 100%.
You could totally. And my axe.
yeah, but you're talking about one of the greatest voices, and his
know.
voice is he's brilliant. I met him in an audition. He's
John Rhys Davies.
John Rhys Davies goes, and he literally sounds like that. Like, you know, like all our voices change. Like, you know what I mean? When I perform, I could manipulate my voice, you know, blah, blah. And he's just like, I love your voice. I was like, I love yours too, sir. I guess, you know.
I mean, how crazy is he played Gimli and voiced Treebeard?
And in Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. And I'm so glad dudes like that fucking work, man. Because this is what people don't realize. And it's part of the business is, you know, post-COVID, it's all fluctuating, is that those middle-class actors, when you see them in the movie, you go, oh my God, and then that guy's in it too. You know, all those actors, and you go, oh my God, because you know they're good, and they only elevate your project that you're in. Do you know what I mean? You need those guys, man.
You know, I worked on the documentaries for the Lord of the Rings movies. On the DVD, there's like 10 hours of, and I interviewed John Rhys Davies for Fellowship, and I got to sit down with him when we were at Disney Imagineering, and he was very nicest, most humble guy in the world, and he was saying, you know, nobody knows, people just don't know me. They don't know me as an actor, and I said, I don't think that's true. And I go, anybody, you know, anybody, just throw me out a line of something Mr. John Rhys Davies said in a film, and somebody behind me, I don't even know who it was, goes, "Oh, my friends, I am so pleased you are not dead," which is from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then he looks at me and he asks me, well, okay, say something that I've said. And I said to him, I go, what do you want me to say? Inglés, which is from Shogun, because he was in Shogun. And he literally,
one of my favorite miniseries
of all time. Yeah. Shogun is my first favorite. Shogun and Anjin-san. It's the greatest thing ever.
Not the segue, but who's the lead guy in that?
Richard Chamberlain.
I just went 2 months ago. Went on a Richard Chamberlain spree, watching the
Thornbirds, dude.
Face, like all that stuff. I was watching all his shit, and I'm like this. So going back to when I said it's dated, his stuff is dated too, but I still enjoy it. It can still be dated and good. You know, Gremlins is dated. It's still good.
Yeah. You know and well, what was funny was, you know, he got all misty-eyed, and I said, you know, you were General Pushkin in The Living Daylights, and I'm like, you were in Sliders. I mean, you've been in a million. You were in I Claudius. You know, you were in I Claudius for the BBC, which Patrick's. I Claudius is for me. It's the Godfather of television. You know, Sean Phillips, John Hurt. It's the greatest. Brian Blessed, Sean Phillips as Livia. You know, that's why in The Sopranos, Tony Soprano's mother is named Livia. It's named after Sean Phillips in I, Claudius. That's why she's named that. And I mean, you've got the entirety of British. I mean, it's incredible. But John Rhys Davies, he didn't understand.
I didn't like John Hurt's performance though.
Yeah, he was a little as Caligula.
Brilliant in every fucking thing he does. But I was like, wow, he didn't know where he could go. I know there's a lot of actors are going to me, shut the fuck, that's blasphemy. No, he didn't. He could have gone there and he didn't.
Yeah. It's still great though.
I love that motherfucker. So,
but yeah, John Rhys Davies. It was funny because he wasn't aware that, like I think you put it best. Like when these people, they don't realize how they class up the joint for an audience because they don't know how we love these actors over, And that's why I've never been a big fan of like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade because they made Sallah kind of look like a buffoon, where in Raiders, he's such a badass. He's like, there is one amongst them. He's very smart. They call him Baloche. He's so good.
Oh, and yeah.
Well said. Well, you got any more questions, Brian, from the folks?
No, sir.
All right. Kirk, we really appreciate your time today. It's been you've been so gracious. You've given us more than 2 hours, and this has been like sitting around, hanging out with your friends, just having a conversation. So we appreciate you so much. Oh, we lost his audio.
I love talking films and TV. I mean, I'm a fan. So do you know what I mean? So I enjoy it, like just the same way you guys enjoy it. You go in your own little world when you're watching it. You want to be left. I'm the same way. So, I'm the same way.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And thank everybody out there for watching and spending time and getting your questions in. Let's make sure we bring you back again soon, Kirk. We were interested and we're going to follow what you're doing. And we just appreciate you so much.
I want to see you direct, man. Got to make that happen.
Terry Vitalis, tell him we need KRINN. The underworld.
Yes.
Unleash me, Terry.
Unleash the KRINN.
I want to direct very, very much. So
you should direct.
It'll come about very soon.
Yeah, I didn't read one of the super chats because we had already answered the question, but there was multiple people asking about you directing. So I think that's the right play.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never did was doing a new show or doing the series. I never put in my contract, which most actors do, hey, I get to direct second season. I just never.
We lost him for a second.
You learn it on the job, so you know what I mean.
I see.
Well, we can't wait to see what you do because your passion obviously comes through. And if that comes through directing something, my God, that would just be fantastic. So yeah, can't wait to see it. Anyways,
meeting you here is making me want to go watch Fringe. So
everybody should watch Oz again and remember how great it was too.
The problem is I can't watch Oz with my kids in the house. I'm not even sitting in the room.
Yeah. Well, then watch Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers is one of the greatest things ever made for TV.
They can't be in the general vicinity of my home. All right.
They'll never go to jail.
That's true. That's
you know what? Jail, kids.
That's the play. Okay, boys and girls, that's it for us. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for supporting us. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, the panel. You guys are awesome. We'll be back on Thursday. Shane?
Yes, make sure you guys go check out all these wonderful channels. You've got Robert Meyer Burnett over at the Burnett Work. You've got the Salty Nerd podcast. And go and check out all the latest stuff. Go back and look at all the great stuff that Kirk's done. His career is amazing if you haven't seen what he's done. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on Thursday. And, of course, next Monday, we'll be back with another special guest, and we'll come out with that later in the week. So thank you so much.
Adios.